All right, there have been two things that have been brought up when talking about Cooper Kupp potentially being a fit with the Texans. Number one, he's old and washed. He's not what he once was. He can't stay on the field. That's number one. Number two is that he doesn't fit because they just traded for Christian Kirk, and Christian Kirk also fits in the slot. I'm going to completely dismantle the second notion. If you think Cooper Kupp just isn't a good player anymore and you think he's washed and you think he's old, I can't do anything for you. But the concept that two slots can't play together, I don't think that's true. And it's especially not true here in Houston, based on the guys that will be making the decision and the guy that they would potentially be bringing in. And I'm going to completely dismiss that. And after that, if you are one of those Kupp guys, maybe you'll be open to maybe one of these rookie wide receivers who does a lot of work in the slot that could potentially pair with Kirk. So the question is, does Cooper Kupp fit with the Texans? Again, can't do anything when it comes to the notion that he's old and washed. That's a discussion that's not going to go away. It can only be proven or disproved on the field. However, can two slots work? The answer to that is yes. And the guys that will be making this decision, Nick Caserio, Nick Caley, they have a lot of experience in trying to make this work. And we can go back to 2009. We go back 15 years ago in New England. This was when when Caserio was there, when they first started trying to make two slot receivers work. And it was initially in 2009, Wes Welker and Julian Edelman. You could see Julian Edelman kind of peaking as a young player. They were finding ways to get him and Wes involved. Wes had 123 catches. Edelman had 37. And it seemed like this was going to be a part of their future. However, in 2010, the opportunity presented itself to where Caserio, Belichick, the Patriots, they were able to acquire in the draft and have the best tight end draft of all time, Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez. And 2010 was where we kind of saw the transition from the slot guys to the two tight ends, like we've never seen it before, begin. 2011, we obviously saw that peak. Gronk had 90 catches. Hernandez had 79. Gronk had 1,327 yards. Aaron Hernandez, 910. And they had 24 touchdowns combined. Just absolutely insane. 2012, Hernandez gets hurt. And then in 2013, we kind of start to see the Patriots go back towards that two slot development. They bring in Danny Amendola with Edelman. Welker's now gone. So they're still open to adding slot guys when they already have slot guys. Edelman has 105. Amendola has 54. Receptions, and then the yards, you can see 1,056, 633, 8 touchdowns combined. And in 2014, kind of moderate season for Amendola and Edelman, but they were both on the roster. So that's one of the examples there. Then Nick Caley arrives, and Nick Caley is now the offensive coordinator of the Houston Texans. And Nick Caley's experience is going to be really, really interesting. And keep in mind, this is also Caserio's experience as well. But in 2015, Nick Caley arrives in New England, and that is one of the peak years of multiple slot guys accelerating. And I'm not saying Nick Caley was the guy in charge of the offense. I'm just saying his first year in the NFL, he witnessed what two slot guys can do. Edelman had 61. Amendola had 65, 692, 648 yardage. They combined for 10 touchdowns. Then in 2016, Edelman continues to do his thing. Amendola, a little bit of a moderate season, still 4 touchdowns, but they still have the two slot receivers working. And then they tried to go back to the two tight end set with Gronk and Martellus Bennett. Gronk gets hurt. And then Edelman misses the season in 2017. And you see the guys step up. So you see how important it is to have two slot guys, because as soon as Edelman goes down, Amendola has 61, 659, and 2 touchdowns. And then Amendola leaves. And that's the sample size of the Patriots. So you have Nick Caserio, you have Nick Caley, two guys who are going to be making the decisions. And you have an example of multiple slot guys working. So I think the multiple slots with the Patriots, I think it's relevant here because we don't know what Nick Caley is going to run. But what we do know is that Nick Caley has observed two slot receivers working, and Nick Caserio has valued multiple slots on the same offense. And then we go to Los Angeles, and this is where it gets even more interesting. And later on in this bit of data, Nick Caley will reappear, and it'll kind of put some more sprinkles into the concept that two slot guys can work. And this is where Cooper Kupp comes into play. And Cooper Kupp can either be the example from far away, where maybe you are open to two slot guys and one of them's not Cooper Kupp. But if you are open to Cooper Kupp, I don't think anybody has blended with other guys with slot skill sets like Cooper Kupp has in NFL history. And we pull up the Rams two slots, 2017, Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, both on the same team. Woods with a little bit more speed, kind of like a Christian Kirk. But you look at the statistics, Kupp, 62 receptions, Woods 56, 869, 781, 10 TDs combined. They were the top two receivers on the team. 2018, Kupp gets hurt. He only plays 8 games, 40, 566, 6 TDs. Again, Robert Woods steps it up, has a damn near career year, and elevates his play. 86 receptions, 1,219 yards, 6 touchdowns. So the importance of two slot guys and one stepping in. Then we go to 2019, Woods with 90, Kupp with 94, 1134, 1161, 12 touchdowns combined. And then in 2020, 90, 92, 936, 974, 3 touchdowns, and 6. They combined for 9. And then in 2021, we see Robert Woods go down. Again, the times where the slot receivers have gotten hurt, whether it was Edelman, whether it was Kupp, whether it was Woods, the other guy steps up. So it kind of shows the importance of it. And when they're both on the field, they're still producing at a decent level. But you have Kupp with 145 catches, good Lord, 1947, 16 touchdowns, winning people their fantasy league. And then you have Woods with 45 receptions, 556, 4 touchdowns in 9 games. So two slot receivers can work. And the connection to the ultimate examples of success can be connected to the Texans with the Caserio experience in New England, seeing what he saw, being willing to pivot. I mean, some people probably said you can't have two tight ends producing at a high level like that. And New England was willing to do that. Also saw them originally try to do that with slot guys, and then they went back to the slot thing. So the Caserio experience is valuable. And I also think the Caley experience is valuable as well, in that he was in New England when the two slots were arguably at their peak. And the other thing about it when it comes to Nick Caley is his last 2 years with the Rams, you've seen them with Cooper Kupp, and they still found Puka Nacua, even though they had Cooper Kupp. So they valued the slot position in his first draft with the Rams. And then in his second draft with the Rams, after Puka could have been the offensive rookie of the year had it not been for CJ Stroud, and they had Cooper Kupp coming back, they drafted Jordan Whittington, a slot guy out of Texas, in the 6th round. And they brought in Drake Stoops, undrafted out of Oklahoma, as a slot guy as well. So they still valued the slot. And in the 8 games that Puka and Kupp were on the field together in 2023, they were first place. They were in first in pretty much every stat, from points per drive, et cetera, that you could even factor in when it comes to an offense. So they did work together. This is just about the Rams having a really good player in Puka and other young options, and Kupp becoming older. And that's the biggest counter against Cooper Kupp fitting with the Texans. Does Cooper Kupp fit with the Texans? I think it's a fair question. Now, can two slot guys fit together? I think the answer to that is yes, and we've proven it. And I think the guys here that are making the decisions know that better than anyone. The other thing that I find interesting about the Kupp-Kirk dynamic is the biggest counter against two slots is, well, you need no more explosion downfield. Kirk kind of has a little bit of Robert Woods in him, in that although their skill sets, especially when they're younger, when they're in their 20s, are probably more favorable towards the slot, they both have a little bit of explosion. So there is that dynamic. But we've seen it work with the Patriots. We've seen it work with the Rams. Whether or not Cooper Kupp can do it, I think it comes down to the age. It comes down to the washed conversation that a lot of people have. But here's the other thing about this. If you're in the draft and the 25th selection comes up and Emeka Egbuka's there, and you think Emeka Egbuka is primarily a slot guy, or you think that Burton is primarily a slot guy, that shouldn't stop you from taking them either. I don't think you can eliminate any wide receiver that does damage in the slot from being a Texan just because they signed Cooper Kupp or just because they signed and traded for Christian Kirk. I don't think that's eliminated at all. So that concept's still alive. So even if you're anti-Kupp, you should not be anti-slot because we just saw the data and it can be connected and localized right here. So the question is, does Cooper Kupp fit with the Texans? I say yes. I'm open to it. I'm open to bringing in another slot guy. As a matter of fact, I'm very intrigued by it. And I still think you can still sprinkle in some other guys at the wide receiver position. Appreciate you for coming through. Subscribe, like, right along. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. We'll talk more about this on SNL with myself and Cody Stoots, and we'll continue to talk about this on the Locker Room stream, 10:30 p.m. Appreciate y'all for coming through.